Hello. This is page 144 in Roman numerals of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. That's the Papyrus of Ani. Translator, E.A. Wallace Budge. It says his full titles, now we're speaking of Ani, are Royal Scribe, Veritable, Scribe and Accountant of the divine offerings of all the gods, the Governor of the Granary of the Lords of Abydos, Scribe of the Lords of Thieves. Is that correct? Absolutely not. And it says down here, Annie's wife, Thuthu, is described as the lady of the house, the Gemetic of Ani. Is that correct? Absolutely not. Now it says down here, plate 19, her name is nowhere else mentioned in the papyrus. So can I go to page 19? Yeah. Now listen, before we get to the main subject, who is Ani and Thuthu, I want to clear something up. In my video, the Papyrus of Ani, plate 1, I mentioned that Wikipedia and Encyclopedia Britannica said that these hieroglyphics are cursive. And after I made the video, I was not sure that the Encyclopedia Britannica said that. Can we go to that YouTube? There it is. Well, here's the Papyrus of Ani here is a manuscript with cursive hieroglyphics. So you can go back to 19. But when I did check on the internet for the Encyclopedia Britannica, I could not find the website. So I want to retract that statement. I also said other sources. In these, I have verified. The New World Encyclopedia, the Jewish History blog, Mr. Barton's World History, Pinterest, Book Depository, Sophiatopia, Goodreads, and these retailers: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Booktopia, Wise House Classics. They all say that these are cursive hieroglyphics. There is no such thing. That's the language of documents used for commercial and government purposes. There's no difference between these hieroglyphics here and those that are in the temples, except these are drawn with a reed brush on papyrus sheets. Now I'm going to return to my main subject. Who is Ani, or Ani as some say, and Thuthu? You know, when I read Bush's, yeah, I meant Budge's translation, I could not find the word Thuthu in his translation. And that's because this part up here, where her name is found, according to him, He didn't translate that part. Now he translated up to here, that's page 126, and he skipped this part and jumped over here. So that's why I couldn't find her name. Although I did find the titles here of Ani. Now can we go to, that would be the one we took in the, that's it. Now this is the translation here of this column right here. These are the titles of Ani. Osiris, scribe and accountant of divine offerings of gods, all, superintendent of the granary of the lords of Abydos, royal scribe, veritable, loving him, Ani, triumphant in peace. Now, not one word of that is correct. And I separated this column right here and enlarged it and posted it here. And this column right here is a list of hieroglyphs that Wallace Butts thinks these that are in the papyrus, using standard temple hieroglyphics. And I checked those here with a red check, or marked them with a red check, that are wrong. They're not the same as those in the papyrus. That is 20 out of 40, 50% are wrong. Therefore, there's no way his translation could be correct. Now, I'm going to explain first why these are not the same. Then I'm going to tell you why his translation is wrong, and I'll also give you the correct translation of these hieroglyphics here. Now you can see the first one here at the bottom is a square. The one in the papyrus is a rectangle, and that has a different meaning because the square represents the law, because it's supposed to be equal with what is right. And a square is right on all four sides. Now this hieroglyphic here is not the one in the papyrus. This is the one that's in the papyrus. This is the one that Budge substituted for this. And I'll tell you what these mean when we get to the translation. They're not the same. Now this here is the same. This is the same. But this is not the same. You see the slanted edge here? Now, this is used in the Papyrus of Ani. I found it right here. And right here, and you can see when it's slanted. But I don't see the slant here. And this is a different hieroglyphic. This is what it should look like. Now this is correct. Some of these are in the wrong direction. Not the same as in the papyrus. But today I'm not even going to bother with that. This is the same. This is not the same. You see this right here? There's 3 discs here. This right here has 3 vertical lines. Now this is the same. This is not the same. See, this is a vulture with 2 legs. This vulture here has only 1 leg. That changes the meaning. This is wrong also because it has a line underneath. This has no line underneath. That changes the meaning. Now here, this has a line in the middle. Look at the one in the papyrus. There's no line in the middle. This is an entirely different hieroglyph. You can't use this for this. Now here, we have the same mistake as down here. See, it has the slanted line here. Now this is the correct hieroglyph here, and I'll explain why later. Now, this is also wrong. You see, this is a palette with 2 discs, This has no palette with two discs here. This is the correct replacement for this, not this. This is correct. Now this is correct. Now this is not correct. See, the one in the papyrus is this one here. See the difference here? This has a disc here. Do you see the disc over here? There's two horns here. There's no two horns here. This is square at the bottom. This is not square at the bottom. This has 4 vertical lines. There's no 4 vertical lines here. You can't replace this for this because this has a different meaning. I'll explain what that is when I get to the translation. Now here again, we have the same mistake. See, these are 3 discs, not 3 vertical lines. In the Papyrus of Ani, you can see what vertical lines look like. They're unmistakable. Here they are. This is this. Now this is correct and this is correct. Now these 2 right here are correct. But this is not. The one in the papyrus is this. See, there's a big difference here. You cannot replace this for this. When I get to the translation, I'll tell you the difference. What this means and what this means. It's not the same. Here's the 3rd time he's made the same mistake. Here and here. These are 3 discs, not 3 vertical lines. This is the same, this is the same, this is the same. This is not the same as this in the papyrus. See the difference here? Now this is a man practicing the genetics of the father, and he has a beard right here, and that symbolizes 1 power, sexual maturity. This has a different meaning. Now up again here, see this right here? He made the same 2 mistakes here. This is not a square, it's a rectangle. And this is not the same hieroglyphic in the papyrus, it's this one. Now this one right here is correct, but it has a bad design because you can't tell what this glyph is in the middle here. It should look more like this because this is what it looks like in the papyrus. Now, this is also a checked wrong. Now it's not because this is not egg-shaped, because actually it is. Sometimes in the Papyrus of Ani here, when you have questions about what a hieroglyphic is, sometimes you have to look in other places to see if it's drawn more clearly. And in plate 16 here, you can see here it is egg-shaped, here and here. But that's not the reason I checked it red. It's because this is a curved line at the bottom here and at the top, whereas the one in the papyrus is a straight line emerging from the bottom here and at the top, and that changes the meaning. Now this is wrong also. See here? The one in the papyrus is this one. You see the difference? This palette palette has 2 discs. This doesn't have 2 discs. And this has a loop around this papyrus stem here. This is connected by 2 lines, so that changes the meaning. Now this is correct, and this is not correct because it doesn't have those 2 lines here. Now, I'm going to go to the translation. Why the translation of E. Wallace Budge? Now these 4 hieroglyphics right here, according to him mean in peace. Now tell me why. What method did you use to arrive at that conclusion? They don't mean that. They mean the knowledge of the two higher powers of your spirit, mind, and body, the principle of turning bias on earth. Now these next two, he says, mean triumphant. What is triumphant about these two hieroglyphics here? It means an important point, your desire of knowledge. That's what it means. Your desire of knowledge of this man here practicing the law. Look at here. Now these 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, according to Budge, mean Ani. No way. He's not telling you what this vulture means. In other places in his translation, this has at least a dozen different meanings. And also this man down here. In his translation here, he's skipping this, skipping this, skipping this, and skipping this. That's like translating only 2 or 3 words in a sentence. Now, throughout the Papyrus of Ani, yeah, see here? He always puts his translation here, Ani, below these 2 hieroglyphics here. See right here? Now these 3 ones cannot be translated into 3 different letters here. So these hieroglyphics here don't mean Ani. Now I'll tell you what they mean. It means man practicing 1/4 of the law, referring to disciplining his hand. He's holding a flail. That's the principle of a biased spirit carnal and the principle of a biased spirit divine. The light of your 3 eyes, the written meaning. The light of your 3 eyes is the written meaning, the decipherment of these hieroglyphics. The power of your spirit and mind to see and grasp. Okay, not Ani. That's incorrect. Okay, now these next 3 here, to start off with, 2 are wrong, so it can't mean loving you. Why would a viper here with 2 horns mean loving him? What this means, see, is your 2 powers of life. 1 power or principle, male, female, carnal, and divine. That's what that means. Not loving him. Now here, this one here is veritable. Ani is veritable. Well, but this down here, these 2 here mean triumphant. This right here means knowledge, the knowledge of the Papyrus of Ani. The original papyrus was in 6 sheets, and they were about 18 inches wide, and the average 12 to 13 feet. So this is what this long rectangle means. It's the knowledge of the Papyrus of Ani, or just knowledge. Now here, you see this here? Now, Bud is translating that scribe royal. Well, look it. This does not mean royal. It's a plant or a tree, meaning the principle of your 4 powers of genetics. Now, Let me tell you what a scribe is, a royal scribe. Ani is somebody else. He's a different person. When Ani lived in Egypt some 12 or 1300 years before Christ, the general population could not read or write. They would go to a scribe if they wanted to send a letter. He would put it into written form. And if the scribe worked for the pharaoh or the government, he'd be a royal scribe. But that's not Ani. He's a different person. And this does not mean scribe. Now this next one here, the next two, is of Abydos. That's the city of Egypt. But listen, it doesn't mean that, because this is not an intersection here of two streets. A disk here always means the sun. And this has four right triangles inside, meaning the four right spirits of the sun: male, female, carnal, and divine. Now this next hieroglyphic here, has nothing to do with the city of Abydos, which is in Egypt. But look at here. This is the hieroglyph that's in the papyrus, not this. I'll tell you what they both mean. You see, this here is the power of your mind and the two right spirits of your mind and your body. What you think and do are subject to these three principles or laws here of the underworld, of the earth, physics, of heaven, mind. In other words, when you're practicing genetics, what you think is the right spirit and what you understand as the law, etc., may be in conflict with these three principles. So you're not going to succeed. For example, you can practice the law of genetics, but you may be not virile. Now there's two basic reasons why you're not virile. One if you're a child, and one if you're too old. Now, there's other reasons why you may not succeed, because what you think is a two right spirits up here may not conform to the law. But over here, this is a different hieroglyphic. It means the power of your mind, the light of your two right spirits here, which are two powers of will. They are subject to the four principles of the law. What are the four principles? Male, female, carnal, and divine. Whether you're a carnal man or a holy man, you're subject to these three principles. Okay, that's not the city of Abydos. I'm going to go up here to the next three. According to Budge, these mean of the Lords. Now he gets that because this is Lord and this is three, so that means plural lords. But that's not what it means. This does not mean of. What this means, the light of your three eyes is the Lord. Now your three eyes is your two physical eyes, what you see happening in the physical world. And your third eye is the light of your mind, which is your subjective knowledge. And that tells you what you see is good or evil. That's your Lord. If your three eyes are not guiding you, who are? Who is? The light of your three eyes is your Lord. Now it says right here the Lord also is the written meaning. The decipherment of these hieroglyphics, they have a written meaning. That's cursive. That can be put into any language. English, German, or Japanese, or Hebrew, whatever. Now, we're going to get to this next one here. Bud says these 1, 2, 3, 4 here mean superintendent of the granary. No, not at all. He didn't tell you what these mean. This means comprehend the two powers. Now you see over here, for this, he substituted, this is the one in the papyrus, and this is the one he substituted for this. Now, I can understand why he might think this is a granary, because the silos that Egyptians stored their grain were round at the top. But this is not a granary. What it means here is your two generative powers of the underworld. See here? One, now men, or adults, male adults, they know they have one power of generation, and that is the father. It's dormant. It's part of the underworld until it's activated. But hieroglyphics teaches you that you have two powers of generation of the underworld, carnal and divine. Now look at here. Okay, before I go on, let me tell you what this here means. See, these are not silos. These are triangular signs meaning two spirits. A right, see right here, a right and biased spirit, carnal or divine. Comprehend the two powers. A right spirit, carnal and biased, principle of living up your life. One power, lifting up your life. But over here, you see he has this hieroglyphic. You see here? It's this one. Now it's a modification of this hieroglyphic here. It means the principle of lifting up your life. But this one right here means two powers lifting up your life, generally mind and body. Now, he is translating that as superintendent of a granary. Well, let me show you something here. I'm going to go to page 17. Now that's page 111 in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, if you want to check it out. See here? It's the same down here and here. But here, this group of hieroglyphics here is translated fire. Well, what happened to the superintendent here? If it's superintendent here, it's superintendent here. Because hieroglyphics always have the same meaning, and you can't use this, translate this group here to mean fire, because each one of these has a separate meaning. Now the only thing that's fire here is this one. It's the vase that's burning incense. It means the power of your bias and set spirit. Comprehend. Speaking of the principle of two powers. Two powers lifting up your life, the written meaning or decipherment of hieroglyphics, not fire. Over here, the same group of the fire. Both of those are wrong. Now I'm going to get up here to the next two. According to Budge, this means all. These two right here. Well, look at it. What happened to the Lord? That's missing. Three does not mean all, and this is not even three. Now look at this next two. Well, let me tell you what that means. The light of your three eyes is the Lord. That's your guide in life. What you see with your physical eyes and what you know within your mind. Not your from past experiences and your education. That tells you how to interpret what you see. That's your Lord. Well, there's many lords in Egyptian hieroglyphics. we're not speaking of the Lord God here. There's different types of lords. Your parents are your Lord. Your teacher is your Lord in school. You join the army, the sergeant is your Lord. You drive a car, the police is your Lord. So there are many lords. But your three eyes is one. Now, you see this here? He translates that as gods. That has nothing to do with gods. That's the triple principle of belief. It's similar to a flag on the top of a pole. What you stand for or what you believe. Now you see how these three right here are connected? The light of your three eyes, the Lord, the triple principle of belief. The written meaning. That's the decipherment of these hieroglyphics. Do you believe that? Do you believe these three principles here? Do you believe the triad? Now, this of course does not mean of. Now, offerings, according to Budge, this means offerings. No. It means practicing the law of genetics, one power of your mind, the principle of belief. Now that principle of belief could be that you believe that one power of practicing genetics is your mind, will, doesn't happen accidentally. But this right here could mean this person practicing genetics, his principle of belief is the higher law in the spirit. Now I'm going to go up here to the next three here. See, now he's translating this of divine here and down here in peace with this added. He does that almost with every hieroglyphic, giving different meanings in different places of the papyrus. But this does not mean of divine. Now I told you what it means down here. Well, let me tell you here, Budge, I heard him say, or I read, where he describes this as an offering on a mat. That's not what that means. That means the knowledge of a set spirit. Okay, up here, these two right here, according to Budge, means an accountant. No way. Two powers of your egg here are not an accountant. What it means here, the knowledge of the two powers of genetics, the carnal and divine power of your egg, has nothing to do with an accountant. Now, I'm going to go up here to this one here. Scribe and accountant. This does not mean scribe. And this is the one in the papyrus, not this one. Now this here means the knowledge here of the carnal and divine Son, the principle of your blood, connected to the principle of genetics here, or the life of the principle of genetics. But you see over here, this is the knowledge of your blood, twice connected to the principle of genetics, or the carnal and divine principle of genetics. Now, they do have a similar meaning, but this definitely is not a good replacement for this. Up here, he translates these two as Osiris. It means the power of seeing, the principle of a set mind and body, two powers. Now, there's no way that is Osiris, because in the Papyrus of Ani, Budge always translates Osiris, these three hieroglyphs here that identify what he is, as Osiris. But you see here, this has only the one eye. have to have this man practicing the law of genetics here, the knowledge of the higher and lower law of the power of seeing to be Osiris. One eye is not enough to be Osiris. Now, even though this is a bogus translation, when you read it, it seems to have a cryptic or hidden meaning. Osiris, scribe and accountant of the divine offerings of the god, all, superintendent of the granary, scribe royal Ani. It's almost like saying that Ani is the same as Osiris. That's the possible hidden meaning here, even though it's not the correct translation. Now I'm going to go to Annie's wife here and do a check for accuracy on those hieroglyphics. And according to page 144 here, he says that Annie's wife, Thuthu, is described as the lady of the house, the Gemetic of Ammon. Now, there's something wrong with this. There's a lot of things wrong with this, but I'm going to start with this. This doesn't belong here. It doesn't exist up here. Because you see over here, this here is already translated as a woman. And this here is part of the name of Osiris. So, he's either using this twice, this to represent both a man or a woman, but you can't do that. You can't use this twice. If you read it this way, following this comes after this, but he's already used this as a woman. So that's a major mistake right there. But I'm not going to use this example here. I'm going to use the one on 323. And the reason for that is he has linked his translation to the hieroglyphics. And it says here, Osiris, lady of the house, priestess of Ammon, Thuthu. Now, look at the lady. These don't mean that. It means comprehend the Lord, not the lady. The lady of the house, no. Comprehend the Lord, the principle of the knowledge of two powers of the law, the knowledge of the two laws. This is not house. It's the knowledge of the two laws. See the two right angles there? Now this, Gemetic, is translated here as priestess. These hieroglyphics here. But they don't mean priestess. It means comprehend. The principle of your four powers of genetics here, carnal and divine. The higher knowledge of hieroglyphics, one principle of rightly using your mind. That's what that means, not priestess. That's the written meaning of this. Doesn't mean of Ammon. Now Ammon is a man that has a crown with two tall feathers. I don't see it here. If it's not here, it's not Ammon. Now you see this hieroglyphic here? That's not the one that's in the papyrus. The one that's in the papyrus has 4 bars up here, which it means the knowledge of the 4 powers of playing the game of choosing the principle of a biased spirit. This does not mean Ammon. Now these he's translating as Thuthu, the wife of Ani. But there's a lot of problems here. First, let me tell you this. This is a woman here. You can see her breasts. And he's translating this hieroglyphic here. That's not a woman. It means practicing the law of genetics, one power of your mind. Now, he knows it's not a woman, because down here, see the same hieroglyphic here, he's translating it as a man here, as part of the name of Osiris. And it also appears here as a title, in the title of Ani, see it's also a man. So this is not a woman. Now there's other problems with this name Thuthu here. You see these two quail chicks? Just because these are small images up here doesn't mean a quail chick. I enlarged these, and you can clearly see here the curved beak. That's a vulture, not a quail chick. And what it means is, you know, he's getting two. Well, look at here. This is not a quail chick. Here's what it means. Understanding the lower and higher law, the power of your spirit mind to see and pick your desire. Pick your desire, carnal or divine. Now, there's some trickery involved here by Budge. Can we go to see? Just a minute. How am I going to do this? Yeah, let's go to 19 again. Now, Budge translated these hieroglyphics here going in this direction, which is correct, but from top to bottom. But when he got over here to translate the name here of Thuthu, according to him, he read these hieroglyphics in the opposite direction this way. And that's where the deception is. Because if you read these hieroglyphics here in this direction, the same up here, it separates her name, Thuthu, see here, Thuthu, by these four hieroglyphics. So it isn't the name Thuthu. It means understanding the law, the lower law and the higher law, the power of your spirit and mind to see and pick your desire, practicing the law of genetics, one power of mind, that's the written meaning, the knowledge of the four powers of playing the game and choosing the principles by a spirit. You see, her name is separated by these four hieroglyphics here. But the trickery here is that he read these backwards in reverse direction, and that rearranges the hieroglyphics so that these two hieroglyphics here are joined. So, actually they don't join. And this is not a female, so this is not the wife of Ani here. Now, if Ani wanted to tell us who he was, he would use a cartouche. I looked through the entire Papyrus of Ani and I only found one. And it's right here in front of him, right here, eye level. That's the principle of your divine name. See? And what's inside here? What are the three hieroglyphics in there? The three hieroglyphics that identify the nature of Osiris. The Father principle. The Creator. The Author. Ani is the author of the papyrus. Not some supervisor of some granary or an accountant of divine offerings. Now, he's saying here, rightly understand, I'm referring to the principle of my divine name here. My divine name. I see this hieroglyphic right here. That means the power of your spirit of mind to grasp. Now look it up here. He's wearing a wig. See here? See the sign up here on his forehead or temple? That means that Ani got the knowledge of these hieroglyphics and these vertical columns from the temples of Egypt that existed in the 19th dynasty of the New Kingdom, which was 12 to 1300 years before Christ. Now you see the wig here of Ani, or Thuthu here. Her wig is longer. I mean, he added to that list with the help here of the divine spirit of mind, or the light of the divine spirit of mind, because this is a lotus on top of her head. Now you see her long skirt here? She is the subjective spirit or soul of Ani. She's not a physical person. And see her right hand here? And this part of her sleeve here, it points to this papyrus plant that she's holding here in her hand, which means grasp the right spirit. You read these hieroglyphics from the bottom up. Then they're in the right sequence. From the earth to the seed, to the shoot, to the unfolding of the leaves, to the unfolding of the flower, the spirit. You don't start with the spirit and read down, because then they're not in the right sequence. And she holds this papyrus, plant, at a slant. Meaning you read these hieroglyphics in this direction when they're facing this direction, which they are. They're facing this direction. Now, what Budge did, E.A. Wallace Budge, his mission, as I see it, was to set the foundation for the wrong decipherment. So he read these hieroglyphics in this direction, the wrong direction, and he read them from the top down. To teach you what is wrong, so you could easily recognize what is right. Now, if you want to learn more about the meaning of hieroglyphics, go to my website, www.egyptian-hieroglyphics.com. That's my message for today.